Okay, students, I welcome you all for the today's session. So today let us take up the next very important concept. It is machine independent macro processor features. So in the last two sessions, we discussed about the basic functionalities of the macro processor. Again, we discussed about the data structures and also the algorithms, which are algorithms of the processing, how it works. So today let us see the machine independent macro processor features. So as the name itself specifies, even before this itself, in the previous my sessions itself, I had elaborated such a way that this macro processors are purely machine independent, or I can say it as architecture independent. It is not specifically for SIC or SICXC. It's something like, there is nothing like differentiation however you saw in the assemblers. So because the functionality of the assembler, what steps to be taken care in the assembler and the macro processor, so before the assembler processing can happen, this macro processor has to expand the macros, whatever it is given or whatever it is used in the program. So that's what we saw in the last sessions. So today let us see about the machine independent macro features or macro processor features. So yeah, before I go further, can anyone just revert me back whether my slides are visible?
It's visible, sir.
Okay, if it is visible, then we'll go ahead. Okay, there are four microprocessor features which are considered as machine independent microprocessor features. So those are concatenation of macro parameters, then is generation of unique labels, conditional macro expansion, and the keyword macro parameters. So these are the four features which are called as a machine independent macroprocessor features. So let's take up first, which is concatenation of macro parameters. As the name itself specifies, it is a concatenation, which is like, combining. But when you say that concatenation is a combining, in a sense, what exactly you are going to combine, in a sense, now we are going to deal with the parameters. So per suppose if there is a necessity of combining the multiple parameters together and they have a unique or a individual or a single global parameter, so how to have it. So that is what the simple concept we are going to deal here as a concatenation of macro parameters. So as the name itself specifies, a concatenation, already I said. So this is where, like, there will be a possibilities of concatenating the parameters whatever you are passing to the macro expansion. At the time of macro expansion, I hope you remembered from our previous sessions, there will be a macro definition separately, and macro expansion will happen when it is invoked or when it is called. So macro calling, when there is a macro definition which is already available, and from here if you call it, that's what invoke it, then this called macro will be expanded. That is the functionality of your macro processor. Now at the time of you invoke, that's what, at the time of you call from somewhere where you are calling this macro definition, at the time of calling you may be passing the different parameters. Those parameters are based on those parameters how that expansion can happen with respect to the concatenated parameters. That's what we are going to see today. Let's take up the example here. See, basically every parameters, this we learned from the previous classes itself, our previous sessions itself. Every parameter will be preceded with the and symbol, or you say that ampersand symbol. So I call this id is the parameter. So this is what the parameter which is preceded with, which will be begin with the and symbol, or you may also call as ampersand. Whereas, so how do we use this? In the sense, here is an example. So this is one example. In this example, something like LDA, load to the accumulator. But what you are going to load? So what you are going to load, in the sense, you are going to load this parameter value. You are going to load this parameter value, and as we are going to perform this concatenation of the multiple parameters in a single, so this can be like, this will be this concatenated parameter which is preceded with the this is what the string x, and also post, that's what after parameter also there is a string which is 1. So this x and the 1 are the strings. In between that x and the 1 where we have that parameter, whatever your parameter will be passing at the time of invocation. So I hope you may understand here even in better. You understand this. This is what a single instruction, which is LDAX and symbol ID1. This is what it is at the definition part. This is what my definition part in my example I said. This is what exam definition part, and here is the calling parameter, calling macro, or a macro calling, or a macro invocation. Whereas this is what the macro definition. In this macro definition, I'm taking the one of the instruction is this LDAX and symbol ID1. This is one of the instruction. Now from here, that's what from the invocation part or from the calling part, if I call like this, if I call with respect to the parameter as A. If the parameter is A, then the instruction which is available here, that will be executed as like this. LDA, and instead of that ID, that is your parameter. So what will be what is the current parameter? It is the A. When the ID is B, then it is the XB1. Like this. Like this, the single statement, whatever the single statement which is available in the macro definition, the single statement which is available in the macro definition can be reused for the different parameters, whatever you call from the macro invocation. So that's what. So when ID is equal to A, this will become as ALDA XA1. When the ID is B, it will become LDA B1. But already I said, so this ID is equal to A, or ID is equal to B, or C, or whatever it can be. So from where you are getting the sense, that is from the macro invocation or macro calling. That let me highlight here. So this, try to understand this even better. So here, this is what I am talking about. So this, in this example, this is the macro definition. Right, all of you try to understand, this is the macro definition. In this macro definition, I hope you know that. So macro definition will begin with the macro and end with the end. This is the beginning and this is the end. And with this macro, the left part, which is the label part, is the name of the macro. This is the name of the macro. All this we studied in the previous sessions. So this is the name of the macro, and this is the parameter. This is the parameter, and that parameter is the ID, which is preceded with the and symbol. Now this is what I say it as. So this ID, which we used in the three instructions as a three different ways, as this is what the same ID is used as the first parameter, second parameter, third parameter. But you understand this, what I'm trying to tell you in the sense, the value which is passed from the invocation, and this is what the invocation part. This is what the invocation part. How can you say it as invocation? Because this is what the calling part of your macro, or in the other way you call as macro calling. At the time of calling, what you're supposed to do? Again, as we elaborated in the previous sessions, so you will have to call based on the name of the macro. Name of the macro is what? It is the total. For that, you will have to pass the parameter as well. It is A. If I pass the parameter as A, then my macro expansion will become based on this parameter. So this is the passed parameter. So you observe the macro expansion. What is going to happen with the macro expansion? So this is the macro definition. There is a macro definition, and the parameters preceded with the and symbol, and at the time of calling, which you call as a macro call, or you call as a macro invocation. At the time of calling, you may be passing the parameter. This parameter is the one which is substituted with the ID part. So that is what. So that is the that's what we said as macro parameter, whatever it is passed, that is replaced here, that you can observe here. This is one of the examples. Second example, if you take up this, the second example, this is what my macro definition part. This is what my macro definition part, which is LDAX, ID1, ID2, ID3. There are multiple IDs, any number of IDs. So these ID will be replaced with either A or B or C or anything, based on what? Based on the parameter which you pass at the time of invocation. So I hope you are getting this. This is a simple concept of concatenation. Now here, so till this is where we are saying that this is what the definition, this is how you declare the macro parameter. How you are declaring? It is what you are preceding with the and symbol. You are proceeding with the and symbol, and this is what declaring the macro parameter, and this is what defining the macro parameter. I hope you are getting the difference. This is what declaring the macro parameter, and this is what defining the macro parameter. But in this case of defining, at the time of defining, I said that which will be always preceded with the and symbol. Now based on that, there is a simple problem which is exist. there is a simple problem which exists. So what is the problem? Let us see. So we are saying that macro parameter will begin with the and symbol. It will begin with the and symbol. But did I say that it is going to end with a specific symbol in the sense? No. Macro parameter will not be end with anything. In the other means, let's say that macro parameter doesn't have any end symbol or end mark. There's no symbol to mark which is the end of the macro parameter. So here is an example as however we say this is the beginning, but we did not say where is the ending. We do not say where is the ending. So they, because of that, as it doesn't have the end marking end marking for the parameter, so it leads to the problem. What do you call that problem? It is what? Ambiguous problem. What do I mean to say that ambiguous in the sense? See, this is take up this example. X and symbol ID 1. Now this is as same as X is the beginning string, 1 is the ending string, and this ID is the macro parameter. This macro parameter which is begin with the and symbol. But do you consider or can you consider this as a in this x and symbol id 1, can you consider this as a can you consider this as x plus and id plus 1? I hope you know this plus is the concatenation symbol. Or do you consider this 1 is also a part of the macro parameter? What do I mean to say? One in what way you can consider that one is also part of macro parameter in the sense? Understand, if suppose this x and symbol id 1 in this, so do I consider this only and symbol id only, that is what macro parameter, or should I consider that and symbol id 1 is also macro parameter? So there is a confusion, little confusion which arises. Am I audible? Anyone of you, can you respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Can anyone of you respond?
Yes, sir, you're
Hello?
Yes,
audible.
sir.
Okay, so try to understand this. What I'm trying to tell you in the sense, in the simple means, let me tell you. So this is what the representation I'm telling you. X ID, X and symbol ID and followed by the number. This number, whether should I consider that is the number which is the reference number, or it is the number which is included with the parameter? That is the major difference you're supposed to know. See, in what way? In the sense, in here I shown the example as ID 1 2 3. This whether this ID 1 2 3, this is what the reference numbers 1 2 3 reference numbers. So those many times you are using, but is it the number which is reference number, or that number may also be used with the ID? So it's something like ID1, ID2, ID3. There may be the possibilities. Or in the other way, even if you wanted me to tell you in the different way, here, instead of and symbol and ID, I might have used, understand, I might have used this and ID5. You understand this example? I hope you may understand. Here I might have used as and id 5. So what is my parameter? It is and id 5. It is not only and id, it is and id 5. But at the time of using, when you use this, it will become as what? And id 5 and followed by 1. Again and id 5 followed by 2. Again and id 5 followed by 3. Again and id 5 followed by 4. So till that there is no problem, but there is a problem for the fifth case, like and id 5 where the reference number is also 5. Now how do you categorize that which 5 is the reference number and which 5 is the parameter number? So there is a confusion. That is what the confusion state, which you call as a ambiguous state. Whether you have to consider this number as the parameter, that the number is included with the parameter itself, or is it the reference number of the IDs? So that is the confusion which has. So that is what ambiguous situation. So can anyone of you respond? Did you understand this ambiguous situation? Guys, can anyone respond? Did you respond? Did you understand what is that ambiguous situation?
Yes, sir.
So if you just make use of this and x and id 1, so there is a confusion that whether this 1 is to be considered as a reference numbers like 1 2 3 4 5 6, or should you consider this as a part of the parameter, because you are not giving any end of the end of the macro parameter. What I mean to say here, anyhow you're giving the beginning as and symbol, right? In the same way, ending also, if you are given as and symbol or the dollar symbol, then there is a different, there is a perfect classification. This is the beginning, this is the ending. Before that it can be anything, after that there may be anything like that, there may be the specific scenario. But here you are giving only beginning of the id, you're not giving the ending of the id. So in such case, how can you consider that this one is the reference number of the number of IDs you are using, or is that number is also included with the parameter number? So that was the major confusion which you got as a ambiguous state. So what is the solution? It is whereby making use of this concatenation operator. This concatenation operator, which is the right arrow symbol. So I hope you can see this. This is what the concatenation symbol, which is right arrow symbol. So that right arrow symbol, which gives that differentiation, which whatever the confusion which is available. What was the confusion? This x id 1. So should I consider this one as a part of the parameter like this, or this is the parameter number or parameter identifier? So this can be categorized or classified or given a solution by using this concatenation operator. So I hope you can understand this right now. So instead of you write like this x and symbol id 1, by using this concatenation operator you can write this as x id. Before that 1 you should have this right arrow. That is what right arrow is, the concatenation operator which you call it. So here is an example which you can see. This is what at the time of defining, with by making use of the concatenation operator, you define the parameters. Then at the time when you call, so you can see this complete concatenation parameter which will be replaced with the whatever the attribute or whatever the parameter you are passing. So this, by using this concatenation operator, you can have that solution for the ambiguous state what is occurred if you don't make use of this concatenation operator. So that's the simple concept of using the concatenations. And the second concept is using the concatenation operator with the parameters or macro parameters. So I hope you are getting that. So now let us go to the, so now we just saw the concatenation of the macro parameters. Now let us go to the next topic, which is generation of unique labels. Remember, before I go with the actual concept of unique labels, I just want you to go back to the previous concepts and try to analyze and try to understand the unique labels. So here is one of the concepts which I want to highlight here. If you try to understand here, we are defining we are defining the macro here. If you observe, this is the macro name. This is the macro. The name of the macro is move. And what we are doing in the sense, in this macro we are just doing the movement of the string, one content of one string to the other string. There is a simple operation which we are taking care here. Just you are moving the content of one string to the other string by using this macro. Where is the beginning of this macro? This is the beginning of this macro by with this keyword macro. And where is the ending? This is what the ending, which is at the end. So beginning is this macro and ending with this end, and we are doing what we are doing. We are taking the three attributes or three parameters, which is input string, output string, and what is the string length. So inside this you are doing the string movement. So you will be initializing the x and the a, and also then what you will do, you take up the content of the string 1 to the accumulator, then you push it to the out string. So again you increment the value of x. So you keep doing this. So until you are done with the all the characters from input string is moved to the output string. So that is a simple operation of string movement from one string to the other string. So which is what this is the macro. This I hope this example I already explained in my previous sessions. And this is the main program. So in this program you can see this is where I am calling. I understand all of you try to understand this, very important. So this is where I am calling this macro at this, which is move, followed by I'm passing the 3 parameters, which is string 1, string 2 and 4. So the length of the string 1 is 4 characters. I'm passing from string 1 to the string 2. So again I'm doing something here. Again I'm calling the same macro for the second time. So I'm calling the same macro for a second time. So what is going to happen? So for this I'm passing the different parameters like string 3, string 4 and string 10. So the attributes or the parameters are different. So like this is what the macro definition, and this is where I'm calling, this is the macro invocation. So how many times I'm invoking that macro? It is for 2 times. When I invoked that, what is the macro expansion? The output from the macro processor. This is the output from the macro processor. What is going to happen? Take up the first instruction as copy start 0. Then go to this first LDT 0. Then is the calling of the macro. That's what I call as macro invocation. I call this as a macro invocation. Now, based on that macro invocation, you're supposed to expand. You're supposed to expand the macro. So from this move till this, so you can see from as you are calling here, so the start from this clear x, so clear x, clear a, ldx 0, so till this jlt loop, so till that it is expanded, till here it is expanded, which is done by the microprocessor. Again take up the next instruction. What is the next instruction? It is the RMOTA. Do that RMOTA. Again keep doing till RMOAT. Then again you are calling the same macro for the second time. Remember, I'm calling the same macro for the second time. When I call the same macro for second time, now again I'm going to expand. So this with the parameters like string 3, string 4 and 10, I'm expanding this, and the functionality will happen for the 2 different type of strings. So whereas string 1 is moved to the string 2, string 3 is moved to the string 4. There's no problem. There's no problem. You feel that there is no problem, but there is a problem. What is that problem in the sense? See, this is the output. So this is the output which is provided by the macro processor, and which will be given as input to the your assembler for generating the object code for each and every instruction. Now is the point. So as soon as you give this as an input to the assembler, what it will do? It will start assigning the addresses for each and every instruction like this. You take up an example, you can observe this. What is the starting address? It is 0. So start from 0. So again, so this is what LDT 0. It is a kind of format 3 instruction. So allocate 3 bytes. Again clear X. It is a format 2. So allocate 2 bytes. Again clear A. It is a format 2. Like that you keep assigning based on format 1, 2, 3, 4. So assembler will assign the addresses. At the time of assigning the addresses, understand this clearly, very, very important point. At the time of assigning the addresses, in the pass one of your assembler, if you remember, it is not only assigning the addresses, it will also do one more step, which is generation of symbol table. So symbol table should also be ready. So symbol table will also be generated in the pass one of your assembler. But for this example, if you take up, as soon as you takes this first instruction, so this label first will be pushed to the symbol table with the address as 0. Then again, as soon as you reach to this instruction, which is loop, so the current address is 000D, so loop will be pushed to the symbol table with the address as 000D. No problem. But when you keep assigning the addresses continuously, when you reach to this instruction, you understand there is one more symbol. I repeat this, there is one more symbol. You got the same name as a loop with respect to your address. Now here is a point. So I hope you remember, you cannot have the symbol table with the same names. We can't have the symbols with the same names. So when you are getting this, when you expanded the same macro for multiple times, when you expand this, when you call the same macro for multiple times, and when you expand the same macro for multiple times, this is the problem which arises, where there is a necessity of having the multiple symbols in the same symbol table. But that this really happens? No, it cannot happen. You cannot happen. Even you think logically. You think logically. Here is one of the example like JLT loop. But there are 2 labels as loop. Here is also there is one loop. Here also there is one more loop. If you say that here JL to loop, to where it has to jump, whether it has to jump here or whether it has to jump here, how can you know that? How can you make a decision? In the same way, how can an assembler can make a decision? In the same way, here is one of the example, one more example, JLT loop. To where it has to jump, whether it has to jump to this loop or this loop, because you have the two labels with the same name. So that is what you call it as duplicate labels. Why you are having, why you are leading to the duplicate labels? For that, try to remember why you are leading to the duplicate labels. Because when you are calling the same macro from your program for multiple times like this, you are calling the macro here and here like this. In this example, same macro is called twice, where that macro has the loop or the label. That label will be utilized for multiple times, but that is not possible. That should not be the case. That is error with respect to the assembler, because you, that's what I said, as a general itself you think here JL to loop, where to jump, whether to jump to here or here. So there is no clarity in that. So that is the major mistake. So like I hope you are understanding that is. So what it is happening in the sense, it is leading to the duplicate labels in the symbol table. That is the major drawback. So guys, are you understanding? Are you, first of all, are you could able to hear me?
Sir, can we give the JLT minus 8?
Yeah, that is what I already said in the previous concept. That is what I'll come to that point right now. So I first of all, I hope you understood what is the drawback if you make use of the labels like this, and if you call the same macro for multiple times. That is the reason we call it as solution for this. There are the two solutions. The first, let us take up the relative addressing. That is what you said till now, it is JLT minus values and plus values. That's what we'll see right now. So the first solution, let's see the problem is this duplicate labels. So how to solve it is by using the relative addressing. If you take up relative addressing, here is an example. This is the my previous this is the macro expansion. This macro expansion I'm converting such a way that this macro expansion I'm converting such a way that, see here I'm not going to use as loop. I don't want to use it as loop, because in this jail to loop, my perspective is that it has to jump back to here. So I'll use that relative addressing. How to use it? How to use that relative addressing? Again, it is a very simple. You don't have to bother much. So it is something like whatever the value you have, what like how many instructions or how many bytes you need to go back. That's what relative address, or how many instructions you need to go front. So either you may make use of forward addressing or backward addressing. That is where you talk about the minus or plus. If you say it as plus, where it is something like forward referencing. Those many bytes you need to shift to the forward. So whereas if you make use of minus, you need to go back. How many bytes you need to go back? That's what you call as backward referencing. Here is an example. I said as JLT star minus 11. What is this minus 11 in the sense? You need to go back whenever it is less than. Whenever this condition is true, you need to jump back. How you are saying that is back? It is minus. Jump back for how many bytes? It is 11 bytes. How it like 11, if you jump back to 11 jump back by 11 bytes, where it will go? So let's assume, see this is the JLT minus 11 is the format 3 instruction. So this is 3 bytes. Again this is format 2 2 bytes, so totally 5 bytes. Again this is format 3, this is format 3, so totally 6. 3 plus 3 6. So when you execute this JLT minus 11, control will come to this LDCA string 1 comma x. That is what even we wanted to happen. That's what even we wanted to happen. So it will jump back to this. So there is a clarity. There is no duplicate. There is no duplication. There is no ambiguous process here. There is no confusion. There is no confusion that whether to jump here or here. There is no confusion, because you are, by using this relative addressing, you are giving it specifically, exactly. You are giving to where you need to jump, by how many bytes you need to jump, to how many bytes you need to shift, whether to go further or backward. That's what forward referencing or backward referencing. So by using this relative addressing, again here is one more example. So JLT minus 11, again as usual you will jump back to this instruction itself, not anywhere else. So based on the problem which is arised because of using such kind of, when this problem is arising, remember when you call the same macro for multiple times, the same macro need to be expanded for multiple times. when the same macro need to be expanded for multiple times, so there is a possibility of same label which will be repeated for multiple times. So if the same label is repeated for multiple times, and if you give this as input to the next assembler, so your assembler cannot handle this because of the multiple symbols which is going to have, same symbol is going to repeat it for multiple times in the symbol table. Understand, this is a symbol table. So same symbol is repeated for multiple times with the different addresses, so your assembler cannot handle this. So that problem can be solved in the two ways. First, let's take up the initial way by using the relative addressing. That's what I said here. So without using the label names, make use of this addresses. So how many addresses you will shift back or forward? Either it can be plus or minus. So again, how many bytes you need to shift, that you just have to represent. That is what the first way, by using the relative address. Again, is it the solution? No. Is it the final solution? No. So the reason why we say that this is not the final solution in the sense, it is because of this. When you call the same macro for multiple times, however you say that, so the duplication will happen at the same time. At the same time, when you make use of this relative addressing, this is very importantly, it will lead to the error pruning. Why this why does this error pruning will occur in a sense? Because at the time of you deal with the format 3 and format 4 instructions, you cannot have the same kind of the relative address. In format 3, obviously you will be having the relative address. So what about in case of format 4 instructions? You will not have a relative addressing concept in case of format 4. But so there may be the possibility where the control need to be jumped to somewhere else, so where there is no means of having a relative address. So we say that even using such kind of this minus 11 minus or plus values is, again, it is not the solution for the current problem. What is the solution? What the solution is this generic, using the unique labels. That is what the concept. So that is what this second independent feature, which is generation of unique label. So before you understand this, your necessity of unique labels, so you supposed to understand that necessity, and before this unique labels itself, there was a solution of assigning based on the relative addresses. Even if we make use of relative address also, there was a problem. So only we lead to the unique labeling. You call it as a unique labeling. How to label these in the sense, it is what will be begin, your label is made to begin at the time of macro definition, or macro definition. You will be begin or initializing any label inside that macro will with this dollar symbol, where it will be expanded. It will be expanded with the, or at the time of expansion it will be replaced with the xx. What are these xx in the sense? These are again the alphabetic values, or in the other way you say that characters. So where it will be having the hexadecimal value, the characters which will be having hexadecimal values. An example like this you can observe. So it is a b ac like this. So I hope you are getting this a b a c like this. So it will be expanded with those alphanumeric characters, where how many characters? It is the 2 characters. So that we'll see as an example now. Now this is what an example I said. So I said already, at the time of macro definition, every label you have, that must be preceded with the dollar. Every label you have, that must be preceded with the dollar. Whereas at the time of macro invocation, that's what macro expansion, macro calling, at that time you will be replacing this dollar with the dollar xx. What is this xx? It can be a b a c a d, those characters. Now, so here is an example. In this is what my macro definition. In my macro definition, other than the name of the macro, you can observe this is the macro and this is the name of the macro. Other than the name of the macro, I have only one label. I repeat, I have only one label. I'll show the next examples with the multiple labels as well. So other than the name of the macro, I have only one label here. And what is the name of the label? It is the dollar loop. So name of the label is loop, and that is preceded with the dollar. That's be preceded with the dollar symbol. That's what I said. It should be begin with the dollar. So Other than the name of the macro, I have only one label inside my macro definition. So that is the loop, and that is preceded with the dollar symbol. Now let's see how this is going to be. This is, we are going to deal this when you call for multiple times. You can observe this macro is called for 2 times. Again, the same example I am considering, not the different. So you can observe move with the different parameters. Again, I am calling the same move with the different parameters. It means to say that I am calling the same macro for 2 times. So now let's see how this loop is going to be considered. This is an example. Can you observe? This is the first time when you call, that loop will be this, that loop, the label is renamed. Label is renamed as AA loop, because as I already said, dollar will be replaced as dollar $XX. So first time that is dollar AA. If you call the same macro for a second time, again it will be dollar AB. It is dollar AB. I'm trying to understand, when you call the same macro for multiple times, when you call the same macro for multiple times, so obviously you can't handle by using the either can relative address or general labeling. So you need the unique labeling. That is what the concept which we are dealing right now. So at the time of definition, do begin that label with the dollar, and how this will be handled at time of calling macro invocation, in the sense that dollar will be replaced with the dollar AA, dollar AB. If you have once again, it can be dollar AC, like that you may be having for multiple unique labels. So I hope you are understanding. Now I'll assume at the beginning I said that if there is no unique labeling, so if it is only loop, if it is only loop, then the symbol table used to have you used to have the same symbol for multiple times, or same label for multiple times. Now let's see the example. Now you see this is the symbol table which is generated. So I have first with the address. Again I have, this is what, this is not the loop, it is AA loop. This is AA loop with the address. Again, this is not AA loop, this is the AB loop. It's not just loop, it is the AB loop. So with the respective addresses. And also you can observe here, it is what, JL2 loop, where it is not just loop, because you can observe here, however you used loop preceded with the dollar, the same way here also you used loop preceded with the dollar. So when this loop becomes AA loop, obviously this will also become AA loop. When this becomes AB loop, obviously this will also become AB loop. So there is no means of any confusion, there is no means of any duplication, there is no problem for the assembly process by using this unique labels. So this is what one of the case which I said, when macro definition has a single label. Let's take up an example. This is one example where the macro definition has 2 labels. So you can observe this is the beginning of the macro and this is the end of the macro, wherein it has a 2 labels, which is one is loop, other it is the exit. There are the 2 labels, loop and the exit. These are the 2 labels. So for these 2 labels, again as usual, proceed with the dollar. At the time of macro definition, you proceed that with the dollar. Proceed with the dollar, right? So you might have used any number of times. You might have used any number of times. You might have used any number of times. When it is expanded, you can observe this AA loop will become, loop will become AA loop. So wherever you are using loop, so it will become AA loop, AA loop. Where exactly this exit will become AA exit. It will become AA exit. So wherever you are using AA exit, it will be AA exit itself. So like that unique labeling, the process of unique label which happens. So at the time of definition time, label should be preceded with the dollar. Then again, so at the time of macro invocation, the dollar should be replaced with the dollar XX, either A, AB, AC, AD, AE. Again come back to B, BA, BB, BC, like that. Any number of labels you may have. So that is what the concept of your unique labeling. So are you guys understanding? So even I don't know whether you got that doubt or not. Again, let me only tell you. So here you may observe this loop, the single loop. Here is considered as A loop, where again here it is considered as AB loop. Whereas in my next example here for the loop, here also I'm considering the A loop. Here also I'm considering A loop itself. You may get why not this is the AB loop? Obviously no, because this is the single one, only once you call the macro definition. It is not for multiple times. You call this in the other way, let me tell you, this loop and this loop both are belongs to the same macro definition, not the different macro definition. When these both are belongs to the same macro definition, there is no need of using that as AB or ACAD, because this is also point, if it is JEQ A loop, it is also pointing back to the same loop or the same instruction. This is also JLT. This is where also the example you can observe JEQ loop. This is also you are going to jump back to the same location. This is also where you are going to jump back to the same location, not the different location. Whereas in this case, it is not the same. So when you call from here, the loop is different. So at that time, so you need to jump back to here, not here. So it is what AA loop. Whereas coming to this, whenever you say that jail to loop, you should not jump back to here. You will have to jump back to here. So there is a necessity of using the different labeling, different identifier for the labeling. That is what here it is AA and AB. Whereas in this case, even though you are calling for multiple times, but you may be calling for the same label in the same macro definition, not the different macro definition. So that is the reason it remains as AA AB, AA itself instead of AB. So like that you can make use of any number of labeling, like AA, AB, AC, AD. As I said, again you can come back to BA, BB, BC, BD. Again you can come back to the CA, CD. Like that you can have any kind of labeling, unique labeling in the case of macro definition. So at the time of macro definition, you'll have to use just a dollar. That will be expanded the macro definition as dollar followed by A, B, AC, like that. Okay. So are you guys getting? Did you understand this concept of unique labeling? Any doubts till now? So next there are two more features, which is conditional macro expansion and macro keyword macro parameters, that we will see in the next session. So before that, as anybody is having any doubts in these two, concatenation of macro parameters and also generation of unique labels. Yeah, if any one of you have any doubts, you can ask me right now. Yes, guys, any doubts? You can raise your voice. Am I audible to everyone? Any one of you just respond, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any doubts? Did you understand the two concepts which we saw today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if there are no more doubts, then that is the end of the today's session. In the next session, let's see about the other two features